Hey there, everybody. Welcome to this evening session, or maybe this morning session, depending on where you are joining us from. And I am so chuffed and over the moon that the absolutely amazing Dan Culver from Elevate is joining me this evening. And we are going to be diving in and having a real deep dive conversation all about demand driven growth and how you can kind of position yourself to be the only choice in your industry and attract those really, really premium clients. And I am very, very fortunate to be in the position that I have been working with Dan and Nicole Culver now for well over a year, having absolutely incredible results. And once again, really, really working with only those super high end clients, those premium 5-star people that are a joy to work with. And with that said, welcome, Dan. I'm so excited to have you here and to just kind of really just go through and have a conversation about what we're doing, the things that you have seen, work so well for not just me, but all the other clients inside Elevate.
Yeah.
So welcome.
Yeah, thank you. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
So let's start at the top. I think it's like what I would love to do is really kind of I'm a big, me, I'm like a complete data geek. I love kind of all of the numbers and the KPIs, and I am obsessed with reverse engineering success. So what I love to do is where I am in my business right now, it is very much kind of like a pinch me, is this actually happening type chapter. And there are clients clients like queuing out the door. I have wait lists. I have people like trying to vie for the same days with me and things like that. And I remember the days in my business where that was literally just a dream. It was like, can you even imagine being that person?
Yeah.
And what I want to do now is kind of like reverse engineer what I think are the main causes of that. And then I'd love you to kind of like, let's just chat through the other things that you have seen for other
Yeah.
clients as well. And I
Yeah.
think for me, it kind of starts at the top. And I've noticed this especially as I've started working with some really, really high end 7 and 8 figure entrepreneurs. And it all comes back to one of the real fundamentals that we do inside of Elevate, which is that rich niche and getting
Yeah.
that right in the first place. So like talk us through your thoughts
Yeah.
on that and what people really, really need to consider.
Yeah. So what I think what you're seeing is a pent up demand. You've done a really good job of building up demand and people want to work with you. And there's actual urgency and scarcity because you are running out of space, because you are running out of time. And people recognize, oh my gosh, I have to work with me right now because I can't go another day with this problem, or I can't go another week without getting this result. So that's really what we've been analyzing. I mean, honestly, for probably the last even 10 years, because we started out as a Facebook ads agency and just running ads for people and collecting leads. And it was so interesting to see some people collect the same amount of leads with the same messaging and get sales, while another person with a similar number of leads, slightly different messaging, get completely different sales. And I kind of became obsessed with that. And I started analyzing, like, why are these leads different? And what I recognized was that like all leads were not created equal. Like leads are different. And so this really went down this path of just really analyzing not only our like the leads that we were getting, but even in our own business, the clients we were getting. And so what it came down to was there were clients who came into Elevate and just completely excelled and crushed it. And then there was other clients who came in and kind of were stagnant or just didn't get as good of results as we had hoped. And Nicole and I looked at it and we're like, the program's the same. It's doing really well. What is different? And so what we realized was it was actually the quality of the lead, and it was the different people joining. And this really kind of developed this idea of the rich niche. And the rich niche is this idea that you really should be targeting those people in your audience who are going to value the results that you can provide more than anyone else. And so what we see is a lot of people, especially in online marketing, are slipping into that convincing mode, and they're going to like that bottom of the barrel, worst of the worst. They have no desire to change. And when they try to change, they really struggle with the change. And we've kind of been taught like to become a good marketer, you have to convince these people to have have a desire to change. And what happens is those people are really bad leads. They're bad leads, they're bad buyers, and they can come into your program or even your one-to-ones, and they almost suck the life out of you. You know, they just do not take action.
Oh
And
yes,
so
I call them pittas. So, yes, yes, clients, my lovely pittas.
exactly. So the biggest problem that I see honestly with this is because most of the clients that we work with are so heart-centered and so service-oriented that they take responsibility and they say, oh my gosh, I did something wrong. There's something wrong with me. And they go into this like this pitfall of depression of like, oh my gosh, my program's not that good. I'm not that good. And so now they don't show up, but they don't get sales. They're not getting testimonials, where all they need to do is just change who they're talking to and just shift to this rich niche. And there's this wealth of people there who are waiting for you. And because the people we work with are authorities in their space, they know how to get people results, especially when they get the right leads. And so that's the biggest problem is like people are just speaking to the wrong audience. So everything else after that is a disaster.
It's hard, yeah. Just it makes it so hard, and I think you've really touched on something there for me that I'd like to dive into a little bit more, because what I see there's two things I want to chat about here. But one is that where you have people who are maybe getting the leads, but then they are getting ghosted from then on out, or their sales conversion rate is really really terrible. One of the things that you had spoken to me very very early on about was that just because you have loads and loads of people coming forward, if they're not actually converting in the back end, it means that they weren't actually the right lead in the first place. And I think that has been the biggest shift for me, is just tweaking that language up front. And our sales conversations now are honestly how and when. They're not actually sales conversations. So using Candace, who's like the best sales coach inside of the program, she's like wasted on me, because I'm like, it's literally they are. How does it work? When can
we start?
No investment. Like, and I'm pretty high ticket, but there's no investment objection. Nothing like that. It's just a how and when. And I think it is all from the tweaks that we made to our top of funnel messaging to really get that, what you guys call that rich niche coming through from the get-go. And then the other thing I'd love to touch on is, and I see this a lot, I used to have like a high ticket group coaching container, and I see this narrative a lot that it's easy for you and it works for you because you're in an ROI niche. But we both know that that's well, it's probably the reddest, muddiest ocean of them all. So it's probably actually harder. But for those who aren't in an ROI niche, I see this working so well. And I'd love to just take a moment just to chat about that. Just in case any people watching live or watching on the replay maybe aren't in an ROI niche and they're like, will this work for me? I know from being inside there and seeing other people's results, absolutely. There's people who are teaching people to make clothes. It's just such a lovely broad range of niches. So let's chat about that a little bit.
So I mean, even if you're not in an ROI niche, you do need to be getting sales, and that's kind of the first thing that we touched upon with you, and where we work with all of our clients when we're first starting, is the metric that we measure is sales. So we want there to be a connection from your content to your funnels to your emails to actually selling. And I know some people out there are measuring like video views or engagement or audience growth. All those numbers are all secondary to us. Like, we have plenty of people who have, 1,000 followers or 500 people on their email list, and they're making $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 a month. You know what I mean? So audience size does not matter. It's really what you do with that audience size. And so in speaking to the different industries, there is like, this does work for everyone, because this is the biggest objection that I hear is like, oh yeah, I'm not in an ROI niche, so I don't have a rich niche. And we're like, no, actually you do. And they're like, okay, well maybe, but they don't have problems. I'm like, well, that's where you're wrong also, is that every industry has a rich niche. You have a niche that is doing well and still wants to do better, and they have problems. They're just different. And if that's the one takeaway you get, this is really important, is that you have to recognize that to speak to that person that is actually ready to invest, ready to take action, and is probably going to be your best buyer, you have to be speaking to their problems and the results they want. The other thing is those people have certain qualities already. Those qualities should be your qualifications. So if you are a fitness instructor and you work with women who are 40 years old who want to, I don't know, complete a triathlon, there are certain qualifications that you need to have in place so that you only get people who are ready to complete a triathlon. So you really shouldn't be marketing from like the couch to 5K or like that kind of stuff. Like you're a higher level person. And so that's really what I see is people are, you know, naturally going to that lowest common denominator, the person who's in the worst spot, who's struggling the most, where we just need to reframe it and we need to change our messaging and talk to that person. And then we need to measure the number of sales we're getting, you know? And that's the other thing is that like, I wish I had all the answers, but we do need that feedback loop of like, you and I have had a plenty of conversations that have done really well and made you some money, but we've also have some that have not worked, you know what I mean? And that's still that lesson, you know? And so if you're going to take 3 months to learn a lesson, your business is going to go a lot slower and it's going to be a struggle, you know? And so we really want results like within 5 or 7 days. And that's really important because all of our funnels are built for those fast buyers. And if those fast buyers aren't coming in and buying, something isn't working and you have to look at that and fix it.
Yeah, I love that. And it's like, even for me, like, because like you've obviously seen the results that I got, like pretty much from the get-go, came in the door and results immediately. And what has actually been happening to me is that it's just been kind of compounding over time and compounding and compounding. And it's almost this, what I would call like steps of stairs. And obviously, like different people are coming in with different levels of experience. You know, some people are already fairly far, you know, there's multi 7-figure people in there, there's 6-figure people in there, but there are also people who are still a little bit newer in their journey. So it's not just for people who are already at kind of multi 6 figures. Let's talk a little bit, because this is one of the things that I really, really love about it. Okay, so it's this whole angle around consistent 6-figure month. Okay, and I think this is the bit I love about this is that there's so many, you know, launch gurus out there that are like, oh my God, like I made $1 million, but they probably spent $1.2 million in Facebook. It probably happened once, and it happens once a year. Because again, I'm inside the container, I can see like, you guys are doing like probably mid to high, is my kind of guesstimate from doing the math, about mid to high 6 figures every single month. And it's part of it is business model, but you also have this machine and the systems with all of the tactics that you guys use and employ to bring people in every single day. And I think that's the kind of where I'd love to go to next is for those people where, you know, the 6-figure months are an absolute, like, of course they're nearly there. Let's talk through that.
Yeah. So one of the things that with like kind of you mentioned with like the launches or those people who are running webinars, what we find is like the one funnel model just does not work that well anymore. And so if you're relying on one launch, if you're relying on one webinar, it's a really heavy lift. We've also noticed that the buyer behavior has changed and people are not a straight line buyer anymore. They're coming in and this is why we create our funnels as like, we call it a demand first ecosystem. So we're really building the demand. The ultimate goal is to get them to come in and buy your main offer, whatever that like main, we call it a high value offer is. And so all roads lead to that. And we're trying to get them there as fast as possible, but we recognize that there are different paths for different buyers. So we recognize that there's 3 different types of buyers. We have the fast buyer. Those are the people who are ready to make a fast decision. Maeve, you are one of them.
You're like, who the hell are you?
Yeah, exactly. And so the more steps you put in front of the fast buyer, the more you're going to drive them away. So we just need a straight shot to the sale. And those are for those fast buyers. There's also those binge buyers who they want to come in and they want to consume a lot of stuff quickly. So we need something that is either on demand or something that's very easily consumable that they can go through, experience you, and then they can buy. And then the third piece is the nurture buyer. That is like kind of the traditional buyer that everyone thinks about. It takes them 3 months to buy, 6 months to buy, 3 years to buy, whatever the thing is. Most funnels are built for that nurture buyer. And unfortunately, that just extends how long it takes them to buy, and it drives away everyone else. So those people that are launching once a year, having one webinar, like you're just slowing down your buying cycle by only talking to that nurture buyer. So what we've done that has worked extremely well for us is we don't rely on one funnel. We have a variety of different funnels always working at the same time. It's an ecosystem that supports each other. So like one ad is doing well, it helps another ad do well, helps another ad do well. Conversely, if one ad starts to slip or one funnel starts to slip, that's okay. We've got some other,
You've got
some
your
other
backup
things
plan.
working.
Yeah.
So it's really good. And then the other thing that I just want to touch upon, especially in terms of our 6-figure months, is that we have our ultimate goal is to get clients to stay with us forever. And that is the biggest driver of our growth, is that and this is why I think it's really important for people who are experts, who are authorities, is that most people are doing the really hard work of getting new sales and getting those people amazing results. And then they're not offering them
It's like 6 months later, it's like, bye.
Exactly. So
No
this is like
continuity offer.
one of those like secrets that no one talks about, is like, hey, we actually care about retention rates, and our goal is to keep as many people around as long as possible. And that's why we're at consistent 6-figure months and beyond, is because we are building this up every single month. It's going up, and we're really not going on the roller coaster because we're so reliant on new sales. And so this is really important, is that like having those multiple funnels, getting people to come into your main offer, getting people some amazing results, and then offering to work with them more is really the system that we have built that's worked so well for us and our clients.
Yeah, and I think something I'd like to kind of note as well, because sometimes when you say the word funnels, non-techie folk are like, oh my god, this is very complicated. It's actually fairly simple, fairly elegant. It's not like you're spending like 6 months building a funnel. It's like these are kind of fire them up quickly. I know the Elevate gang are all going through an actual, the live series that's happening at the moment, where they're doing those like bonus trainings to pop up their fast cash funnel. So it's very, very, very hands-on. So if anybody's kind of concerned about that, like that's one thing I love about it. It's very agile, very tactical, very quick to implement. And then I think as well, just you mentioned something there, and I said, gosh, actually, let's unpack that. One of my biggest realizations whenever I came into Elevate, and I know I'm in the straight to the top mastermind now, but I committed to Elevate at the very, very start. And it was this immediate growth in me as what you guys call elevated CEO, because what I really, really observed was just like, dang, like look how they're running this container. Like it is so well run. The team, what you guys call client success, it is just, and I've been like I've been in a lot of containers. Kissed a lot of frogs. Some of them have been absolutely wonderful. Some of them have been absolutely dire. But for me, that was kind of the biggest growth for me. And I wasn't expecting that. You know, when something kind of like hits you and you're just like, wow, like I've been settling, and this is back when I had a group coaching container and things like that. I was like, I settling for mediocrity in terms of client delivery. And it really, really made me kind of wake up and up my game from that perspective. And I think part of that was that realization, is that is why your retention rates are so incredibly good. This is why we all stay, for one set of 6 months, and then the next, and then the next, and the next. Part of that as well, and one of my favorite things about it is actually the community, because and obviously, as you guys know as well, this entrepreneurial game and this entrepreneurial world can get kind of lonely, because there's not very many people get it. And I think that was part of my reason initially for joining, is like the vibe of the people seemed really, really cool. And now that I'm in there, it just feels like you're in this community where you actually belong, which is really, really great. So let's talk a little bit about client success and the importance of it, not just from making sure that your clients have a great experience, but also from that, this is how we stack these multiple 6-figure months.
I mean, it's just interesting because I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs every single day, and this is the thing that I think is so forgotten. They create this program and they're like, all right, I'm done. Like, that's my program. I'm just going to go focus on marketing and sales and build that up. And I think this is something that Nicole and I, we've worked together as a couple. Like, we have a family and everything. And so we didn't have any other safety net. Like, this was it. And so we've always prided ourselves Like once we get a client, we're going to bend over backwards to keep them. And that is because we really wanted to continue that relationship, but we also really wanted to keep that revenue and keep serving them. And we know how hard it is to go out and get new clients and bring them in. And so we've always taken client success extremely seriously, and we've always built on this. And one of the things that we had to recognize as we started to grow the group and really start to get bigger is that we no longer could be reactive in customer success or client success. We had to be proactive. And so this was a really big switch, is we started to really take the data of our clients extremely seriously and start to figure out, okay, there's 6 different ways we could fix this one problem. What's the best way to fix it in terms of scalability of client success? So for example, actually I said this to someone the other day, is like, every interaction you have with a client, you're training them on how they should be interacting with you. So if they have a one-to-one question and you answer it one-to-one, then they will come back and ask another question one-to-one and another question one-to-one. And so we really had to train ourselves to train our clients of like, okay, this is the process to get your questions answered. And then we also had to look at things and say, hey, everyone has a question around this. That means something's wrong with the training. We need to change it. Maybe it needs to be redone. Maybe we need a PDF to go with the training. Maybe we need to do another group call around the training or something. So we really took this seriously to analyze it. And we really said, okay, if we're going to scale this and we're going to continue to grow, how are we going to answer these questions if there's 10 times the number of questions? You know what I mean? And in the beginning, it's easy to be reactive because you don't have that many clients. It's usually just you, maybe a coach, maybe an assistant, something like that. But if you're really looking to double or triple the size of your business, you have to start understanding like, hey, I can't be just putting out fires all day long, especially if I have 3 times the number of clients that I want to have. And so that's really the shift that we made, is that client success is extremely serious to us in terms of results, in terms of monitoring data, but then also we don't want to ask anyone to continue to work with us if we haven't gotten them results. And so we can't ask someone to renew with us if they haven't gotten results. So that kind of puts the onus back on us early in the relationship to make sure that we're monitoring their results and monitoring them and checking in on them. And so one of the biggest things is early on in Elevate, I went to renew someone and I was talking about it, and then they were like, I haven't even logged into the portal. And I'm like, well, what are we even doing here? Like, what's there to talk about, you know? So we really even started like checking in on people and saying, hey, I haven't heard from you in a while. I haven't seen you on a call in a while.
Yeah, I know that, because if you miss your data tracker, you get a little
a little check-in of just like, hey, I just want to make sure. And it's these little things that really add up. And this is the stuff we analyze. And it's amazing. Jess, our client success manager, she's really taken ownership over this. And she's really started come to us with ideas of like, hey, when I do this, this, and this, it seems like people engage more. It seems like they get better results. And it seems like the renewal rate's higher. How can we make this better? You know, and we're like, oh, great, let's turn it into a system and make it a thing, you know?
I think that's, you've just hit the nail on the head though, because it's because you guys have a client success manager. There is somebody whose sole responsibility on your team is to look after all of us.
Yeah.
And I think that really, really shines through, but it's also it's like, it makes your client success. It's not an afterthought. It's not oh crap, I'm supposed to do that.
Yeah.
Like, go and do it quickly. It's actually her job, which means that, you know, all of that energy, all of that focus is there looking after us.
Yep.
I think that's another piece then for me, especially. A lot of containers you go into, it's like a one-trick pony. So it's like one little bit, and then you have another 10K container, and it's this little bit, and then it's this little bit, and it's like you're trying to do this like jigsaw puzzle. What I love about it is, you know, we have our messaging coach and we have our sales coach. We have, you know, you're like so like involved in it. We have so much access to Nicole, all of the different coaches that we've got access to. Do you find that as well is, you know, one of your main drivers for client success?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, all the advisors that we have are extremely helpful to bring in different perspective, but everyone's kind of unified is we're trying to learn about your business and give applicable advice, and that's related to you. And where the response that I get is that people say, I just feel seen. I feel like you know me. I feel like you know my business. When I get on calls with advisors or me or Nicole, you know my name, you know my business, you know what I do, you know my offer. And people are like surprised, especially at live events when we get together in person. They're like, you know me? I'm like, yeah, I know you. We've been on calls. You fill out data trackers. You do this. And so we truly can customize our answers to you. And a lot of programs are based on generalized coaching, or like, what do you think you should do? Or how does that make you feel? Where we're really trying to like sit in the advisor role of, hey, I know enough about your business that I can actually give you my opinion. Whether you take it or not is up to you, but I do want to give it to you so you can at least think through it. And then and I always love to like have that conversation. Like, tell me why I'm wrong. Like, let's make this a conversation, but I do want to give you what my opinion is. And then we can kind of go a little deeper with that.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And then it's like for me, if we think again back to these, like that's kind of the multiple six-figure months. Let's shift now to talk a little bit about these premium clients. Because there's obviously a huge shift from when, like, I remember in my early days, I had oh my goodness, I think back, it's like I had this program. Wait for that, you're going to laugh at me. This is like this is 6 years ago, right? Just for context.
Yep,
But
yep.
I had a year-long container that was £480 with unlimited access to me. That's like now you don't even get an hour of me for that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, that's
So
actually a
let's
really
talk
good.
like that shift from that to charging 10, 30, 50K for what I do now. Let's get a chat about that shift to
Yeah.
working with premium clients.
So that's actually a really good example, is because the Maeve of 6 years ago, she didn't have your confidence, she didn't have your skill level, she didn't have your experience. So if you are still doing that offer, I bet it wouldn't even sell well, because people wouldn't even believe that they would get everything that you told them for $480 a year. And so this is one of the things that I see entrepreneurs, especially experts, especially people who are authorities, is that there's a disconnect in your messaging. If you were still talking to that person from 6 years ago that you were selling to 6 years ago, but you were trying to sell them a $50,000 package, there would be a misalignment. And so what the problem is that when people still talk to that person from 6 months ago or a year ago, there's a disconnect and your messaging isn't in alignment. So whatever you're selling, whatever you're doing just does not work as well anymore. And so obviously the funnels are important, but the people you bring into the funnel is extremely important. It's a big piece of this. And so it even goes on beyond the rich niche, because the rich niche is, yeah, we should talk to those people who are doing well. But what we're talking about here is your messaging should be evolving, and it's based on you, because you are more skilled, you are more confident. So you should be shifting to that next level of person that you should be talking to. And it's not going to be the same as it was 6 months ago or a year ago or even 6 years ago, And this is where it creates a disconnect of people just saying, it used to work, but it no longer works. Well, yeah, because you've changed, but you're still talking to that person from 3 years ago.
Yes, I love that. And then, so this is like, that's kind of the proof that the more and more seven figures that clients I sign, the more and more seven-figure clients are coming to me. And it's like,
Exactly.
again, one of my favorite things. So I was at just for context for anybody watching, I was at Dan and Nicole's event there. What month was that? I've
That
lost.
was this month. It was like 3 weeks ago. I was
That was
just talking
April.
to
Oh
Nicole.
my goodness, that was April. That feels
Yeah, yeah.
that feels like 100 years ago, and I'm going back out again in
I know.
2 weeks. It's actually, I think it's like 10 days I'm going back
I know.
for the Straight to the Top Mastermind. And I have lost my train of thought. So one of the things that whenever I go to any of these events, and these events are like so incredible, but I always go with a single intention. And my intention for when I went to this event was like to really, really kind of nail that message and that angle for working with these really high end thought leaders, people
Yeah,
who want to be seen as the one in their industry, and moving away from those who are kind of happy enough to be seen as one of many options in their
yeah,
space. And this is something that I have really gave myself permission. It was something. It was one of the sessions that Nicole did
yeah,
at the event. It was like give myself permission to show my geeky side online, because I've always, so like, I am like obsessed with the numbers, and I
yeah.
like all of these like amazing things using AI, but I often kind of hide that side of me
Mm.
because it's not that cool. Okay.
I think it's cool.
You're trying to like talk about all the shiny things that you think that people want to hear about, but it's so funny coming out of the back of that event. I just gave myself permission to share all of that geeky stuff that I'm doing and the amazing things that we're building, and it's absolutely incredible the shift in demand. So like this is what this session is about: is this demand driven growth. And I really have found that giving myself that permission to just show up like
Yeah.
who I actually am, rather than trying to hide certain bits of me that I might be, think aren't relatable online. It's actually been so powerful. So like, what else can people do apart? I hate this, like, oh, show up authentically. It's just so
Yeah.
generic. But like, apart from that, you know, like what I have done, like show my geeky side. What other tactical things could you share with our watchers who are like, they would love their growth to just demand, like red hot people, like
Yeah.
applications coming in at us left, right, center every week. We have people vying for the same VIP day slots. It's like, it's
Yeah.
just the demand is there. And I believe part of that is from that shift. But what else can people do who maybe are doing all the things, but they're just not having that cue at
Right.
the door?
Well, I mean, I think it's really interesting is what you mentioned is that you kind of show up as your full self now. Like it is also a demonstration of your authority, of like your understanding of numbers, your understanding of data demonstrates your authority. And so how you show up in your funnel, in your content is going to repel or attract the right buyers. So if you are hiding and you're not if you're not sharing your full self, you are going to repel those buyers who can just sense that. And they're like, there's something you're holding back. But if you can kind of show your full self and say, hey, this is who I am. I love numbers. I love that. I love this. You are going to show up with a different sense of authority, and that is going to attract those right buyers to you. So that's kind of like general in the grand scheme of things. When we get into the nitty gritty in terms of like how to attract your rich niche, we mentioned earlier that when you, like, even with you, when you recognize, oh my gosh, there's a new level of client I want to get to. The first step was recognizing, okay, that is the level that I want. So I need to step in and embody myself as that person who can do that. But then when it came down to create content, we did have to get down to the micro level of, okay, if we're going to go after that type of person, what problems do they have? What results do they have? And what qualities do they have? And so the questions that I always ask when I'm doing this is like, what does your perfect person already have right now? What do they have? And what is it that they want? And if you can come with 3 to 5 things of each of those, you're going to really get a sense of, okay, the haves, what they have now, those become the qualifications.
Mm-hmm.
So in your instance, if you're looking for people who are already doing $100,000 a month or $50,000 a month, that's a qualification that you're going to have in almost every piece of content. Hey, if you're at $100,000 a month, but you want to get to $300,000 a month or $500,000 a month, or if you just had a best-selling book launch, but you don't know what to do with those leads, or if you want to step into the thought leadership with a quiz, go see Maeve, so it really is understanding that. And then it's the results. What are the specific results that your people want? Now, this is where it gets a little bit like, I'm going to say complicated, but also just very specific, is the specificity matters. If your people want to make more money, well, that's great. Most people want to make more money. If your people want to lose weight, great. Most people want to lose weight. But what we're talking about is the specificity. What is the specific result and when do they want it? Do they want it next week? Do they want it next month? Do they want it next year? So it really is getting down to the specificity of what the problems are for your perfect people and what the results are for your perfect people. And then you need to talk through your process of how you can uniquely solve that problem or get that result.
Yeah, I love that, because like, even for me, like, a couple of things that I have found have worked really well is using ad spend as a disqualifier. So like,
Beautiful.
if you're spending more than 10K a month in Facebook ads, then read this
Yeah.
email. So it's
And that's
people
easy.
who are crying about spending $5 a day,
Yep.
I'm not your person
Yeah.
anymore.
And
Yeah.
that's interesting in the specificity of the problem where I went to, hey, if you're making this amount of money, but the specificity of ad spend, that is really going to talk to your person, because that's what they're complaining about is like, hey, I'm only spending 10,000 and I can't make it profitable. How am I going to spend 30 or how am I going to spend 40 or something like that? Like that's so beautiful how you do that. And I think that's such a good example of the specificity there as well.
Yeah, brilliant, brilliant. So, what else would you want to dive into? Let's just pick one more kind of juicy topic. So, we've covered rich niche, we've talked about premium clients, we've talked about
Yeah.
client retention. Let,
Yeah.
let, let's go. Sorry, let's go something. What do you want?
Well, I mean, the thing that I was talking about was just like in general talking about demand. And this
Yeah.
is something that we've really harped on, especially after our live event, is that Nicole and I did this training on demand for our live event. And it was just one of those experiences where as we were doing it, we were just like, oh my gosh, this is the thing. Like, this is what people need to hear about more. And so what I just want to kind of define for everyone is what is demand. And demand is now. It's it's being able to attract people's attention and have urgency with it. And so the reason why I wanted to talk about this is when people hear me talk about demand, they confuse it with branding, and they're like, "Oh, you mean building a brand?" I do not mean that. Demand is now. Can you get sales right now? Can you attract attention, show urgency, and get people to take action right now? Brand is long term. That is, if you're consistently building demand, then you will build a brand that can get sales. The reason why I think this is so important is because a lot of people, when they go to build a business, they say, "Oh, I need to go build a brand," and they start picking out their fonts and their brand colors and that kind of stuff. That stuff drives me crazy. What I'm talking about is leveraging demand and saying, "Hey, can you go out and get a sale right now?" And if you can, you've got demand. If you don't, then we need to build up demand. And so when we're working,
This is what I just pulled up. I was literally out in the garden earlier today, and I was going through my event notes, and it's like offer demand, attention demand, identity demand. This
exactly,
is why I was scrolling. I wasn't making notes, and it's like
exactly.
that session to me was like gold.
Yeah, exactly. And it was just one of those things where, as we were delivering it, people were asking questions and like feeding put back. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is really something." And so this really is, I think, the next iteration of the rich niche is harnessing that demand. And what I've realized is inside Elevate, what we're doing with most clients is we're understanding, okay, do you have demand? If you do, what are you doing to build up the demand, and how can we do more of it, and how we can leverage it? If you do not have demand, what do we need to do to build it up? What is it that you're not saying? What is it that we have to change in your messaging? Who is it that we need to talk to that's a little bit different? And so this is like really getting down to the nitty gritty of why most people's funnels are not working, is they do not understand demand, and they don't know how to build it, and they don't know how to leverage it. And so that's really what we're looking for specifically. Is there's a lot of people out there who actually have demand that aren't leveraging it correctly. I think those are really our perfect clients for Elevate. Is like, "Hey, everything's going okay, but I'm just not hitting the results I want to get, or it's not moving fast enough." Those are really, like, for us, that's really our rich niche. Is like, "Oh my gosh, let's get this going."
Yeah, it's just kind of putting speed on it to get it to roll faster. Do you have 2 minutes just to
Of
do like
course.
a Cliff Notes version on the offer demand, attention demand, and identity demand?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I know you guys have this demand in a day, and I think like we can talk about that in a moment. But if we just kind of do the kind of the Cliff Notes version of that offer demand, attention demand, and identity demand, it was
Yeah.
really, really potent for me.
Yeah. So where we start with demand is there's three types of demand. And the first is attention, and attention demand is like, can you get people to pay attention to you? This is primarily with content. It's just like, what are you creating to get people to say, "I like that, I'm engaging with it"? So that is clicking a link on an email, it's engaging in a Facebook post, whatever that thing is. Now, when you do this consistently, you actually create identity demand. And identity demand is when you are building yourself up as almost like the hero to your people. So if you're in the fitness industry, you're fit, you're doing well, you're looking good, all that kind of stuff. And they're like, "Wow, I want that body. I want that result. I want that thing."
If like a fitness coach that is 600 pounds, and you're like,
Yeah, exactly. And the final piece of it is having that offer demand, is having something that you sell that people are like, "Oh my gosh, I actually can't say no to this. Like, that is a ridiculous offer. I am so in on that." And so the last piece of this that is really interesting is that most people start at the bottom and they say, "Okay, I need to create attention, then I need to create an identity, and then I need to create an offer." That's actually, we do it backwards. We actually start at the top. You need demand for your offer. And so anyone who comes to us, the first place we start is we make sure, "Hey, could you sell something today?" And if you can't, nothing else matters. No one, like, it doesn't matter if you have identity demand or attention demand if no one wants your offer. So we really have to start there and work our way down.
love it.
Did I cover it? Did I hit all
Yeah,
the?
absolutely. I think it's that again. Like I see this a lot with people that I work with. It's like so many people online are putting the cart before the horse, and
Yeah.
it's like they are skipping the fundamentals because the fundamentals mightn't be that sexy. They might be like, "Oh my god, like I don't want to do this," but until you get that demand for your offer absolutely nailed, and I think one of my it's just my personality too. But what I love about Elevate, it's like it's so tactical.
Mm.
that it's like every single week it's just like you almost like just wizard together another thing, and you're just like, I'm going to test this angle and test it. Like I'm selling VIP days all over the place just from these little tests that I'm doing
Yeah.
almost for fun.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh yeah, like why not try it this way?
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh my goodness, like the people are just like me, 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 me. It's
Yeah.
crazy, and it's like it's so tactical and so easy and quick to implement.
Yeah, and I mean that's where like we have the most fun is because we're always doing experiments in our own business and kind of sharing them with the clients. But now we have like, I don't know, all these other people running tests at the same time in different industries with different ideas. And like I'm going on clients' calls and I'm taking notes and I'm like, you're doing what? How are you doing that? And so then I'm kind of cycling that through our system. I'm like, okay, how do we apply this? How do we apply that? And it's really interesting because like even with the client success stuff, we have some clients who have taken our client success stuff and really taken it to the next
Yeah, they did
level.
it. Steroids. Yeah,
And
yeah,
the things that they're doing with like Voxer and Telegram and things like that, I'm like, whoa, okay, that's really cool. So it's so fun that we've kind of created this. I mean, it truly is a mastermind of just like people going out and testing out different things and saying, hey, this is what's working for me. This is why it's working. This is why I think it's working. And then you say, okay, I can take that idea or I can take that tactic or I can take that strategy and I can go try it for myself and see what happens with me. So, I mean, it's a big piece of being in business is having those new ideas always flowing in. I mean, it's the creativity, you know, it's like, however.
For me especially, I think it was like surrounding yourself with the right level of people, because it's like I want to be in containers where I'm the dumbest ass person in the room. Like that's I hate going into a container where you're like,
Yeah.
oh my god, is this the conversation? It's
Yeah.
like going in, like say straight to the top. It's like you're going in, like, and I'm like, what am I doing in this room? But it really makes, because it's like a
Yeah.
rising tide raises all boats. So I just absolutely love it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and again, I think the beauty of the structure of yours is that that place is there, regardless of what level of business that you're at, and there's the right place to pop you in. You know, even if you're like, I think there's one lady who's at 8 figures. It's like even if you're at that level, there is still a room for you
Yeah.
to be in.
Yep.
So let's talk a little bit about the demand days. So
Yeah.
let's dive into that.
Yeah, I mean, this is really something that we kind of came up with after our live event is what we found is we've been working with our people inside the Elevate Mastermind for so long, and it's so much fun. But really, what we've been noticing in the market right now is people want to do things faster. So we created this demand day where we actually work one-to-one with clients for 3 hours in a single day, and actually build a funnel with you. And what's been really interesting is people have been coming in and saying, "Hey, actually, can I spread this over a little bit about time because it's so dense, it's so intense that I actually want to kind of do this step by step." So what we've been doing is that we've actually been doing, this demand day over a series of weeks where we do it together and we meet so that we can go build something, have you launch it into the world, and then you can kind of come back with results and we can make any tweaks or make any changes or make or scale it. And go on from there. And so it's just a really fun container. And I know you have the QR code that if anyone's interested, you can go ahead
the
and
links there
apply.
on the screen if
Yeah.
you want to apply, or if you're watching somewhere where you can't scan it, just drop the word apply down below, and I'll make sure that we get you the link.
Yeah, and what we'll do is that obviously we just want to know a little bit about your business. We'll hop on a call and just see if we are the right person to support you. Then if we can talk you through what we'll do on the demand day, what it would look like. And right now we're also offering a 90-day access to Elevate as a bonus for the demand day. So it's a really cool container to be in there as you go through the demand day. So yeah.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Right. Go get it. Brilliant. Right. Anything else before we wrap up? This is
I'm good. Just thank you so much, Maeve. I really appreciate you having me on. And it's just so amazing to see your growth.
Hey, Amanda. Hey, Biplob. I hope I have pronounced your name correctly. Cool. I'm really, really glad that you've been finding it so helpful. And I will be sending this out obviously to everybody, and the link will be there. So if you're watching this on replay, just make sure to drop a comment down below and I will get right back to you. And just make sure to pop in your application because you won't look back whenever you are inside.
All right. Awesome, Maeve. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Dan. Cheers.
All right.